It was the political shot heard round the world. Boom, baby! But was it enough to knock out Joe Biden once and for all?
It was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And, you know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
It's a mischaracterization of my position across the board. I did not praise racist. That is not true. Number one. Number two, if we want to have this campaign litigated on who supports civil rights and whether I did or not, I'm happy to do that.
Every pundit, liberal, conservative, and everything in between, all agree on one thing. Joe Biden had a really bad night. Is it a bad night? Was it enough to end his 2020 run? Well, it probably should. Will it? That is still yet to be seen. Kamala Harris certainly came out of nowhere and was the standout last night. Now, unlike watching the JV team the night before where each one was trying to out-left the other and have their moment, Kamala Harris was clearly in command the entire evening. And she's got some things going for her. She's female. She is an attractive woman. She comes across as likable. And in carefully staged settings, like she was in last night, she appears rational, sane, moderate, well thought out. Certainly not the truly left extremist that she is. Remember, she wants to confiscate guns and revoke the licenses of gun dealers. She is for abortion on demand right up to birth and would probably even consider a post-birth abortion if it turned out that the baby was in some type of, well, defect. This is a woman that is 150% committed to open borders and free health care for everybody, whether you're a citizen or not. So she has some very leftist ideas. Now, they were cloaked well last night. And there are some, even on the conservative side, fearing, oh, if she gets the nomination, I don't know if Donald Trump's got what it takes to go up against her. Well, I'll say this. She is an incredibly well-spoken storyteller. Remember, she was a prosecutor. She was the Attorney General for the state of California. We'll come back to the state of California and the state it's in right now and ask yourself this question. Is the state of California better off now than when Kamala Harris first became the Attorney General, or is it in pretty rough shape because of policies she enacted? That's a separate issue. Being a prosecutor, her job is to stand before a jury and do what? Persuade them to her way of thinking, to see the narrative as the way she wants to paint it, not to, and never let a lawyer tell you it's about getting to the facts. Nay. It's about getting to the version of the story they want you to believe, whether it's the prosecutor or the defense attorney. Attorneys who do their job well are attorneys that, if they're a little light on the evidence, still know how to turn and flip the jury. And that is exactly what Kamala Harris did last night. But my question is, over the long term, is that really enough to help her? Or did she do a Chris Christie last night? See, what I saw, she scored knockout blows against Joe Biden. And he was incredibly inept at being able to explain this stuff. I'm not against busing. I was just against public education and the educational department forcing the busing. I didn't sing the praises of segregationists and racists. Yeah, you did, and we've shown those letters right here in 2 other videos on the Afternoon Drive. But all that aside, he didn't do well to dispel what she threw at him. Everybody agrees on that. But was what she did going to help her, or did she simply clear the path for someone else? Again, remember back to 2016 and the primary building up to it among the Republicans. Remember, it was Chris Christie who took out Marco Rubio. Christie got like a 24, 48-hour bump, but ultimately he had to back out of the campaign. Rubio managed to inch on a little longer, but nonetheless, the die had been cast. Rubio had been dealt a death blow by Chris Christie. It was over. It was done. It was fini. That said, is that what Kamala Harris did? Has she simply now cleared the path for someone else?
I think the experience is not just what you did, but how it worked out. Under Chris Christie's governorship of New Jersey, they've been downgraded 9 times in their credit rating. This country already has a debt problem. We don't need to add to it by electing someone who has experience at running up and destroying the credit rating of his state. But I would add this: let's dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is trying to change this country. He wants America to become more like the rest of the world. We don't want to be like the rest of the world. We want to be the United States of America. And when I'm elected president, this will become once again the single greatest nation in the history of the world, not the disaster Barack Obama has imposed upon us.
You see, everybody, I want the people at home to think about this. That's what Washington, D.C. does. The drive-by shot at the beginning with incorrect and incomplete information, and then the memorized 25-second speech that is exactly what his advisors gave him. See, Marco, the thing is this. When you're president of the United States, when you're a governor of a state, the memorized 30-second speech where you talk about how great America is at the end of it doesn't solve one problem for one person. They expect you to plow the snow. They expect you to get the schools open. And when the worst natural disaster in your state's history hits you, they expect you to rebuild their state, which is what I've done. None of that stuff happens on the floor of the United States Senate. It's a fine job. I'm glad you ran for it, but it does not prepare you for president of the United States.
Chris, your state got hit by a massive snowstorm 2 weeks ago. You didn't even want to go back. They had to shame you into going back. And then you stayed there for 36 hours, and then he left and came back to campaign. See, those are the facts. Here's the bottom line. This notion that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing is just not true.
There it is.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
The memorized 25-second speech.
Well, that's the reason
everybody.
Why this campaign...
You know what the shame is, Marco? The shame is that you would actually criticize somebody for showing up to work, plowing the streets, getting the trains run back on time, when you've never been responsible for that in your entire life.
Okay.
And
something that no one is talking about today. I mean, no one, not on mainstream propaganda media, not on conservative alternative media, not on leftist alternative media. What no one is talking about is Joe Biden's problem goes away immediately if Barack Obama comes out and says, I served with this man for 8 years. For 8 years, he was by my side as my second, as my vice president. There's not a racist bone in his body. And let me tell you, this whole issue for Joe Biden goes away immediately, and Kamala Harris, bye. See ya. Now, there are some on the right that are lamenting Glenn Beck today is nervous, and Bill O'Reilly is nervous. That this is it. There's no way Trump can go up against her. Hogwash. All Trump has to do is just hang her record over her head. Look at the streets of San Francisco and Los Angeles today. I mean, it is rampant crime. It is rampant homelessness. Parents are walking out of stores with their children, and there's a heroin junkie standing in front of them shooting up on the street. And nothing gets done because those are the policies of Kamala Harris. He can hang that over her head. All he needs is the narrative and the images playing. She's for open borders. He can hang it around her head. Hey, this is one of those people. She wants open borders. In other words, she's more interested that illegals have access to free everything, that as soon as they get here, they should get free health care, free housing, free education, free, 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 free. And you get to pay, because that's the humanitarian thing to do. Trump can hang her with that. She wants Medicare for all. She is totally anti-Second Amendment. There's enough out there that Trump can rally the troops, especially the Christian coalition, around the Democratic radicalism on abortion, which is not even, it's beyond anything that even a person of moderate faith was willing to tolerate. You can't call yourself a person of faith or a Christian and support the Democratic position on abortion. You can't do it. You just cannot do it. It is just off the charts. It's infanticide. They're talking about aborting children as they're being born. They're talking about post-birth abortion, that if they see some type of defect or problem with the child, they will abort the child, kill it once it's been born. How is that a woman's reproductive issue? The baby's already been born. Where's that baby's human rights? Where's that baby's right to life? So there's plenty there for Trump to hang her on if she becomes the presumptive nominee. I'm not convinced. Bill O'Reilly's other theory is that somehow Biden will make nice with her, and he'll be the prez and she'll be the VP. Her whole campaign strategy now is around get rid of these old white guys. So she's going to play number 2 to an old white guy who was really having a hard time staying awake last night and focused. He was very articulate for about the first 30 minutes, and then he and Bernie Sanders both. These 9 p.m. debates are not working out well for them. They're showing their oldness and their grumpiness. And his responses to Kamala Harris were very combative, very argumentative, very negative. That's not going to play well. But like I said, and nobody else is talking about this, all it's going to take is Barack Obama to emerge from the shadows and say, Joe is not racist. He doesn't have to endorse him. All he has to say is, he's not racist. Well, I don't know if Barack Obama's going to do that just yet or not. He already said he's not going to endorse anyone. And Donald Trump has been making hay over that, isn't he? Donald Trump has been saying, how do you not endorse the guy who was your number 2? Remember when Eisenhower wouldn't endorse Richard Nixon against Jack Kennedy? How'd that work out for Nixon? So at some point, Barack will have to make some type of statement or endorsement. But even without endorsing Biden, to come out and say the guy's not racist. Now that all hinges on, is Biden really an old school Democrat where he's got something on Barack that he can say, hey, look, you've got to come out and tell America I'm not racist. Or this one little thing that has never really been exposed, I'm the linchpin and I'm the proof that and you don't want it out there. So we'll see. We'll see. It is certainly very, very interesting right now, because last night's debate did exactly what the first night's debate should have done and didn't do. They went after the front runner. What's his name? Sewell, whatever. Is that the guy that nobody can remember his name, and he's polling at 0.0. When Biden was giving an answer and, trying to show, that he's a guy that follows the rules, looked at the clock and said, oh, my time is up. And Sewell basically said, yeah, your time is up. You talked about 40 years ago, it was time for the older generation to pass the torch to the younger generation. Well, guess what? You're now the older generation there, Joe. Pass the torch. Your time is up. And that's an incredible soundbite right there. My time is up. If he does, by some miracle, become now the nominee, that the old money Democrats just stay with him, that the Democratic machine, the oligarch, the deep state of the Democratic side, the establishment, you know, all of this is just a dog and pony show and they've already got the fix in like they did for Hillary and Biden is automatically going to be their guy, don't think for a moment Trump isn't going to jump all over that. My time is up. And up it is. That's it for this. Thank you so much for tuning our way. Please share this video. Make sure that you give it a thumbs up, a big like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and smack the bell to get notification of my next rant.